Good evening, everybody. I want to call this special meeting to order Monday, April 28th. And Councilor Bailey, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Sue, will you call the roll, please?
Better?
Mayor Lesser?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Forrest?
Here.
Councilor Bailey?
Here.
Councilor Carbone?
Here.
Councilor Clancy?
Here.
Councilor Jurek?
Here.
Councilor Rhodes? Councilor Timbrow? Councilor Zambrello?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It's nice to see everybody. Hope everybody had a nice weekend. I know I did. For those of you who don't know, my daughter got married, so it was very exciting. But I'm glad to be with all of you guys here tonight. And Carol Maria, just speak into the microphone when you do talk. We had some folks last time that we couldn't hear. We want to make sure that people watching at home, and there might be a lot of people watching you guys at home on TV, but make sure you speak in the microphone. And you guys are our lead-off hitters tonight. So Carol Maria, the floor is yours. Thank you for coming.
I mean, it's pretty basic. We have a municipal referendum, and then training, support services, and then our contract. I don't know if anyone has any questions or, specific things, but it's pretty straightforward.
Thank you, Carol. Maria, any comments before we ask any questions?
Nope.
No. Okay. All right, then you guys.
That was the shortest
short and to the
presentation
point. Okay.
ever.
Yeah, it's a pretty small budget. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Okay.
There's not a lot to it, so.
Okay. then I'll
Rather
open it
than
up.
just go through each line and read to you what's here, if you want to ask questions.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'm open, okay, Counselor Clancy, you're up first.
Hi. I was just curious about the travel and lodging for, it looks like 2 conferences. If you could tell us where those are.
Travel, under, let me look. The training and conferences?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is basically 2 conferences a year with all our staff. And then we put in money to have our deputy take the courses for the Yukon certification classes. She has not taken that yet. That's what that encompasses.
But involves it staying, where's the hotel? Is it in Connecticut?
Yes, the conference?
Yeah.
One is in Bristol and one is in Windsor.
Okay.
Which, to be clear, we don't know necessarily where the conferences are going to be in the state, so we put that in there. We haven't stayed overnight at a conference in the
That's
last
what I
year
want
and
to
a
hear.
half.
Okay, that's why I asked.
Yeah, it's in there because we only found out it was going to be, the next one would be at Bristol. We found out about a week and a half ago.
Oh, so probably not.
So it'll just be the fee for the conference itself, but no lodging, just mileage and the conference charge.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
All set, Counsel?
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other council questions or comments? Counselor Carbone?
Thank you, ladies. So I'm assuming the budget has come down because there's not a big election coming up, right? Not a national election.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
The budget has been decreased because I'm assuming there's not a large election coming up, right?
Yeah, last year we had we had the presidential preference primary, the August primary, and then, of course, the presidential election.
Great. But we are going to have town elections, and this is what's budgeted here for the municipal election.
The municipal election, and then, I guess, possibly the referendum.
Okay.
I was going to ask, okay.
So I guess what I actually was looking for it to match how come I don't see it here? Am I not looking in the right spot?
What are you looking for?
I'm sorry, I was just trying to look for the numbers that plugged in. Oh, I do see them. Okay. So essentially, it's being about $15,000 if we do the referendum.
What's about 15,000?
The referendum, if you get that passed in September.
Actually, that's just broken out with the workers. The actual amount for the referendum is 20,000. 20,158 when you add in ballots, coding, and election supplies, which is down below, so it's separated out. But the entire election, or the entire referendum, is just a little over $20,000.
Okay. And just a quick question, if we include that in the November election for the municipal election, would we save $20,000? Or would it
Yes.
be in addition? Okay. All right. I'm good.
We're paying for extra coding, we're paying for extra ballots, and then obviously rentals, staff. So yeah, it's double. It's basically double the election that'll be coming a few weeks later.
Okay. One last question. So when we do a referendum like this, typically we have it in how many locations?
Typically, like we did with the last referendum, we had it in one location.
Okay.
This number in here accounts for us having it in the 6 polling locations.
Okay, and who
Because we were asked to do that.
You were asked to do
We
that?
were asked to do that.
The
but
budget
it
for it, or to
certainly-
have it?
It was budgeted for in here, but it certainly could be just at the community center like it was last time.
And how much would that save us? Just curious.
Off the top,
It would save us as far as salaries go for the workers, because that's where the big difference was.
Okay.
It would save us, I wouldn't say 4/6 of it, maybe. It would save quite a bit, about 3/4 of the salaries.
Okay. All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks, ladies.
and of course, we wouldn't be paying for the churches.
Okay.
All
Thank
set,
you.
Counselor Carbo?
Yes, thank you.
Further council questions or comments for elections? Well, seeing none, thank you very much, Maria. Carol, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Our lead-off hitter. Adding second is our tax collector. Molly.
Nice seeing you both.
Well, you're up third. I don't know if you know that. It's a key spot in the batting order. Rachel and Mike fourth, cleanup.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay.
Page 117, if you guys haven't found it yet.
So overall, there's a little bit of a decrease in my budget, and the increases is mostly due to mailing out the tax bills. The cost of that does go up a little bit every year. And I also have a new technical assistant who's going to be taking certification classes.
I'm sorry, can you say, I didn't hear what you said.
I have a new technical assistant taking certification classes,
Thank
so we increased for that, for education as well.
Do you have any comments on your budget? Okay, same as the last group. Okay, so then we'll open up right away. Council questions or comments on the tax collector's budget? Page 117 if you haven't found it yet. Give everyone a minute. Councilor
thank you.
Clancy.
Same as my last question about your conferences. Do they include lodging?
No, I don't stay overnight.
Good, okay.
Councilor Clancy? That's it? Okay.
I'll actually ask a question.
Councilor Carbone?
Thank you. So did you mention the drop safe deposit system? Is that something new this year?
Yeah, that's something we're looking into, as opposed to going to the bank every day. There would be a safe in the vault. We would slip the money, it would be like an ATM. So the money gets slipped in there and it's credited to the town's bank account immediately.
Okay.
Because it records what's being put into it, and then a courier would come and empty the safe when it's full. So then that would eliminate us making trips to the bank every day.
Okay. So it's $5,000 to install the system, or is it is there a maintenance fee associated with that, or is it a flat $5,000? Is that like an ongoing thing?
Mike?
Hi, Mike.
Mike O'Neill, Director of Finance. This is, most of the 5,000 there is for the unit itself.
Okay.
And there are fees that the bank charges for receiving the information that way. And then there's fees for the transport of the money to the bank.
In addition to this $5,000?
No, it's in the 5,000.
All included?
Yeah.
So would that be, so next year in the budget, it wouldn't be for the machine, it would just be for services? So that
Correct.
would come down?
Yep.
Okay.
And just so everyone understands, It used to be that an employee from the tax office went with a police officer to the bank, and this is to bring checks and cash, which can be substantial at the heavy collection times in July and February. But since COVID, I think it's since COVID, someone from my office has been going just with a town car and going, and it's one of those things that we made the decision because it was becoming difficult for the police to coordinate it, and it just didn't make sense to tie up a patrol car for, it's probably a half hour, it could be 45 minutes, I think, if there's a line at the bank or anything like that. So some of my office took it over. We kind of just have continued to do it. We've talked about this from time to time, and finally just popped into our heads while we were doing the budget and said, it really doesn't make sense for a town employee to be going alone with cash
Unsafe, yeah.
down to the bank at Town Line Road to M&T Bank. This is how it's done now. And that's why we're asking for this.
Is there insurance associated with this as well? Like, is it insured? I'm just saying, if something happens, somebody breaks in, now that everybody
I don't know,
that's watching this knows there's going to be a vault full of cash in the town hall.
Well, it's going to be, it's a small unit that would be mounted inside the vault. There's a walk-in vault
Okay.
in the tax collector's office. As far as insurance goes, there was no mention of insurance when we got the quote. I mean, it's just,
Right.
we're generally insured, and tax collector has a bond, and we have crime insurance,
Oh, that's good.
and it's a bonded company that's going to be picking it up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Carbone. Further council questions or comments? I too wanted to ask about this a little bit. So Mike, I don't know if it's for Marlene or Mike. So do we have a sense if a lot of towns do this system as opposed to someone driving in or police officer? It seems like that is an antiquated way to do things and maybe not as safe, but is every other town doing what we were doing? Do you have a sense of, where we are with that?
It depends on the size of the town. Some towns do still take the money to the bank. Larger towns, like the size of our population and higher, are switching to the smart safes.
Okay.
I
And
mean,
Marlene,
the old solution was an armored car service,
Yeah.
which is very expensive. We've looked at that from time to
Marlene, you're
time.
saying that typically there are daily runs? So if there's one or two checks that come in for someone paying something off-season or something every day, someone is running almost every day to the bank?
We're running every day for cash, yes. Checks are scanned in the tax office and are kept here.
Okay, but you're receiving cash every day for
Yeah.
some type of tax payment?
Yep, because we also get it from physical services, we get it from the town clerk, we get it from Park and Rec.
Okay, this seems like a small amount of money for a pretty efficient and safer way to do things, but that's just me. I wasn't even aware of this until, so it's educational to me. Good, thank you. Anybody else with questions for the tax collector? No, thank you. Marlene?
Yes, thank you.
You're all set. Walter, you're up. This is the assessor, town assessor.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members, Walter Topliff, Town Assessor.
Page 110, everybody, if you haven't found it or you don't know. Walter, you can go ahead.
My budget's pretty simple. The only increases I have, even though my total budget went down a little bit, is for the programs that we, have for the computer. We have increases for there. Last year, we had a program called Mobile Assessor in the budget that never materialized. We found a cheaper way to do that. And so this year, we added something called Near Map, which does 2 flights a year. Will help the whole town, every department, be able to use it.
That your comments for your budget?
That's it.
Thank you, Walter. Okay. Questions of our assessor, counselors, questions or comments? And they usually lead us off. Do you
Yeah,
have?
sure, I'm going to ask the same question again.
This is your designated question. Counselor,
I just suddenly became curious about everybody's
Counselor
travel.
Clancy, you have-
But so I would like to hear about your travel, and I see you've only used 39% of what you allocated, so
Oh.
last,
We still have other education opportunities between now and the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
But we send people to Assessor School up at UConn every year, and we do not pay for lodging there. They go for a week long.
Anticipated that one.
But there is something in the budget for me to go to our conference this year, and this year it's in Orlando, and there will be lodging there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Get to go to Disney World after?
I'm staying away from Disney World.
Thank you, Councilor Clancy. Further council questions or comments? Oh, Councilor Bailey, sorry.
It says health insurance went down 11 grand. Is that one less employee?
You gonna take that, Mike?
It's some level of coverage decrease. I don't know particularly from your staff what changed. We can find out.
I do.
But Joe goes through every person in every department.
No, I know.
And he figures out whether you're two-person, family, or single. So that's, yeah, I'll find out.
Okay.
Councilor Bailey? Anyone else? I'm just going to ask about overtime pay. Kind of, it's not a large item in the budget, but what typically, what is, someone is during, you know, a certain period of time, you see little need for overtime, what's that for?
Board of Assessment Appeals coverage. We have Board of Assessment Appeals in the month of March and the month of September. So we have staff members on site with the Board of Assessment Appeals to facilitate that.
Okay. And that's an estimate. I'm good. Anybody else before we?
Sooner.
Well, I was going to suggest at the front, but we may be able to cover some other items that Michael has. Either way, if you want to get the police, we can. All set?
All set.
You're good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And Rachel and Mike, Parks and Recreation, you guys are up. And then we have police as the last item, but Mike O'Neill, we may have some downtime. You can go through some other accounts, right? Okay. Thank you, Rachel. Whenever you're ready.
Good evening, everybody.
And I should say, as you're getting ready, we welcome you to the budget floor as the director.
I was going to say Kathy's running a little late. She'll be here in a little bit, in a couple of minutes.
I'm being in this role.
It's more funny than you know.
So yeah, I said, obviously, I've sat in on these meetings before with Kathy in the past, but the first time presenting and going through the whole budget process without Kathy, which was sorely missed because she did have years of experience doing that. So I think it said we are on page 243. If everybody's ready as far as that. So, unlike the others, I apologize. I do have a list of bullet items that I want to cover with you in regards to the Parks and Rec budget, which the request this year is just a little bit over $2.3 million, and just kind of wanting to go, I know that you guys have your little cheat sheet in front, and so kind of just wanted to go through some of the bullet items, and feel free to interrupt me at any point if you want to address a particular item. So to start off, the personnel costs are reduced by the $98,748, which is identified, and part of that is the employee pension costs being transferred out, and then also a decreased director salary for the next fiscal year. The full-time staff contract increases are all dependent upon the union contract. We do have two, the custodians don't have an approved contract for next year, so I put in the budget their current salary, which will be subject to change if they have ratified a contract for the next fiscal year. Our part-time staff did increase by $55,000. I'm going to go through kind of how I came up with that $55,000 part-time increase. I budgeted for another 70-cent minimum wage increase for January 1st of 2026. This year it was 69 cents. We won't know what that dollar figure is until October. So I'm going to assume that the increase for minimum wage starting next January will be another 70 cents. So that's part of the reason why our part-time staff has increased drastically. I also increased the weeks for our aquatics director. I increased our summer staff for therapeutic recreation from 13 to 15 as that population of campers continues to grow. I increased the playground program staff from 3 to 4. For those who don't know, our community playground program is the camp that we offer for 6 weeks that we try to keep at a most affordable cost. For those 6 weeks, it's $295, whereas some camps are $275 just for 1 week. So we try to offset, whereas our other camps are all self-sustaining. So the Nature Center, Extreme Adventures are self-sustaining. The playground program and our therapeutic recreation camps are camps that are put into the budget because they aren't self-sustaining. Another part of the increase for the part-time staff is that right now, we only have, at the community center, our technical assistant is 8 to 1. We don't have anybody that is in the office from 1 to 4:30. For all the previous budget years, we put somebody in from 1 to 4:30 to help in the summer, but I'm looking to take that position from 10 weeks to 52 weeks. I know many of you have heard from the seniors here about increasing staff presence there, and I really would love to have a part-time person from 1 to 4:30 in the community center office that's able to answer questions if seniors are coming in, that are able to process registrations, handle phone calls, because right now we don't have somebody there. It falls on a supervisor to be there and cover the office many times when they have to go to a school to oversee a program. And the last part, as far as increasing of part-time staff, is looking to have a camp supervisor. Right now we have camps at the community center, Emerson Williams, Highcrest, and it'd be great to have one staff person overseeing and being able to go check in on all of those camps and troubleshoot problems as they arise. So that's kind of the increase for the part-time staff. One of the new line items under personnel cost is private duty special events. Currently this year, we are budgeted for $0 and have spent $8,500 to date. So next year, requesting $12,000 for the private duty special events. What this is offsets the cost for the police working any of our special events. So this year so far, we've helped to offset the police cost for Cornfest, 1781 Cars on Main, Celebrate Wethersfield, Keene Carnival, Mikey's Run, Holidays on Main, and Porch Fest, and we still have not made it through all of the special events. So right now it's getting charged to the Parks and Rec budget, and I'm looking for money to offset that cost. So those are kind of just the changes as far as the personnel requests in the Park and Rec budget. Travel, training, and dues is the next thing that you'll see that there's a $3,400 increase. This is the money that we use for trainings for our annual conference. We're looking to increase it. One, we're looking to increase our aquatics training. One of the things that we really want to do is we want to certify a staff person to be a lifeguard instructor so that we can run all of our own in-house lifeguarding classes instead of having to pay a contractor to come in and do that. So looking to send a staff person for that certification. And we're also looking to add, we've never budgeted for a staff person to go to the National Parks and Recreation Conference, which is happening this fall, so looking to add $2,500 into that budget. It is in Orlando as well, not at the same time as the assessor's office. And if it was during the walking competition, I maybe would walk back and forth, but looking for a hotel for the conference in Orlando in the fall. Next, for support services, we're looking to increase $5,000 in that line item. As you may or may not know, currently, playground inspection falls within Parks and Rec. We do have a certified staff person, our rec supervisor who goes out and does the inspections, and we just hosted the training here, and we actually got somebody from physical services to participate in the training as well. So looking for the Parks and Rec and the physical services staff person to continue to do inspections, but to bring an outside company that specializes in doing playground safety inspections in on an annual basis. So that's the $5,000 request to hire a private company to come in and do those inspections once a year, in addition to having our staff do it on an annual basis. I do know in one thing that in your sheet, it talked about increasing the early childhood coordinator position. We're not increasing, we're requesting the $25,000 this year, which is what we requested last year. So that was not an increase. We are keeping par from last year. Utilities, I won't go into great depth other than we increased utilities. For portalets, which falls under our facilities and equipment, looking to increase the $1,500. As of December 2024, we have already spent 82% of our portalet budget, and the busiest time of year for us is April, May, and June. And a lot of that has to do with, as we increase all the special events in town, we're having to provide coverage for the portalets. So whereas before it was just for fields, we're covering the fields and all the special events as well. So that's an ever-increasing cost. Let's see, community center repair account looking to increase by $8,000. Currently we're budgeted, sorry, community center 5,000 from 25,000 to 30,000. To date, I will tell you, we have already spent 42,000 of the $25,000 that was allocated, and that was because we had an unexpected replacement of the fire alarm system in the amount of $19,000. So looking to increase that, and then looking to increase our park maintenance budget from $10,000 to $13,000. To date, we've already spent $7,000 because someone unfortunately hit the gas pedal and the brake pedal and took out a large section of the fence at the pond, which cost, that was a big chunk of the budget there. So. And the last is just materials and supplies, which I know it shows as a $10,000 increase. Just to break that number down for you, custodial supplies, as I'm sure you all know, when you go to purchase any of your supplies for your house, just keeps on increasing. We're looking to increase money for the baseball field supplies and basketball court supplies. We are looking to just increase office supplies. I'm hoping next year. This year, a large part of our budget was taken up by toner, but now that we have our new printers, thank you, Mike, we will hopefully not be spending as much money on toner for office supplies. And then just looking to increase the amount of money that we have available for our clothing, because we provide all of our part-time staff with t-shirts and overall aquatic supplies for the pools. Questions so far on the detail summary section? Keep going.
Councilor Dirk.
Thank you, Mayor. Quick question on the $12,000 for private duty. So just make sure I understand this. This is for police that comes to the events. So this is not part of the police budget?
The decision was made, Mike, maybe you can speak to that better.
So in conjunction with the event money that was budgeted in this year's budget and discussions around police overtime in recent years, we decided, and those discussions in particular about the fact that if there was police were working events, town events and things like that, the money just went to police overtime. And the chief, quite rightly pointed out that it's kind of beyond his control. So we really pulled this apart this year, and we're tracking every event. We're tracking by department, who incurs the private duty costs. We have set up new accounts in those budgets, and we're putting the cost there instead of in the police overtime budget.
And a quick follow-up on that. So the money that we usually set aside for these events, this is in addition to what we already cover for the events to make sure they get it.
So we're tracking all those expenses now, and we'll do a true-up. We get to the end of the year, probably in the summertime, to just there's not enough money in that budget to cover everything. So we said, let's put it all in the departments and reflect costs kind of operationally where they've occurred. And then we'll use the $50,000 we'll sit down and come up with a rationale for using it to offset basically those costs in the particular departments.
Thank you. Just making sure we have the true numbers, what we are actually paying for these events
Yep.
from different accounts. Just a quick follow-up. You said somebody hit the fence and damaged the fence at the Cove. Did we ever get reimbursed for that? Did their insurance pay for it?
Kerma will not cover it because they said it's not large enough claim.
For the person who did it, do we know who did it?
Oh, we don't know who did it.
Oh, we don't know?
No.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Durek. Other council comment?
Mickey, was that about the fence you were asking?
Yeah.
All right, that was going to be one of my questions, but no, I was going to ask the same thing.
Yeah, the police responded, but we did not find the guilty party.
Other council questions or comments? Counselor
ahead.
Bailey, Counselor Carbone, I got you both. Counselor Bailey.
More part-time help. Have you increased the program costs?
Yes, we've increased all of our program costs.
The camp supervisor. Mm-hmm. Who does it now?
We currently do not have a person that does it, so it's up to the full-time recreation staff to be going around and checking in on all of those camps.
All right, so they're paid for that.
They're paid for that. Just looking to create somebody that can be a middle person.
All right, and the safety inspections, who does those now?
So right now, our rec supervisor 2 has her CPSI. Somebody from physical services just took the class in March, awaiting to see if they pass the class to get their certification. So we go out and do those inspections.
Seems a lot cheaper to keep it that way.
It would be cheaper to do, yes.
The portalette, the road races, who pays for the portalettes?
It depends on it depends on the event. So for the superhero race that happened yesterday, the CCMC pays for their own portalettes. We are paying, the Keene Foundation pays for the portalettes for the carnival, so I will place the order, they'll reimburse them for that. But we're paying for portalettes for the fireworks, we've paid for the portalettes for 1781, Cars on Main. The chamber pays for the portalettes for Corn Fest.
I get the town events. I'm thinking more of the road races. There used to be a mental health road race.
In June,
I thought it was in the fall.
Jamie's Run?
Yeah.
Jamie's Run, they pay for their own portalettes.
All right. Well, I just know it's a big cost. That's
It's a big cost. And the sports groups keep on requesting the extension, so whereas before we would start them in April, will they start practicing in March? So now they're also extending their season that they're looking to use the fields.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor Bailey. Counselor Carbone.
Thank you. You actually asked the questions I was going to ask. But, piggybacking on the safety inspections for the playground, sorry. Is there a benefit? Because I'm trying to think, okay, if we have 2 people in town that can do the inspections, is there a benefit to have somebody else come out? Why would we be asking for that?
The rationale is that the companies, this is what they do for professional living. They go and travel around the state, they travel around the country to do safety inspections. For us, it's just a task of one of the staff that we have. Both Parks and Rec, and it'd be the same thing for physical services. So they're not going out and doing inspections on a daily basis. They're just doing it twice a year, and that there would be benefit in a company that does this on a professional daily basis to come out and take a look at the playgrounds.
But they would also only be doing it how many times a year? It's not, because they're $5,000. You can't tell me somebody's coming every day to look at the...
They're not coming. They would be coming, but they're people who do that. That's their job. That's what they do on a daily basis. Whereas for us, it's staff that have just gone through the class, received the certification, but they're not per se out there on a daily basis doing it.
Okay. And then I was going to ask about the portalettes too, because it seems that we're running into precarious... we need portalettes. We need clean, good portalettes. They're disgusting.
Clean portalettes.
I'm so sorry.
Just really
Don't
expensive.
need to apologize at all.
They're really expensive.
Part of human nature.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that...
And we have, I will tell you, I shopped around last year, 6 different companies, and the company that we use still is the lowest, but for just a regular unit is $100.50 to be cleaned once a week per month.
And how many units do you know offhand do we have spread throughout the town?
Oh, great question. A lot.
A bunch. We have a bunch. Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that, Rachel.
Thank you, Counselor Carbone. Counselor Zambrello.
Thank you. I just wanted to go back to the part-time positions again. I was writing them down, but I think I missed one, so I just want to run through that again. So You've got the 70-cent minimum wage increase that you're accommodating for.
Yep.
You've got the summer therapeutic rec going from 13 to 15
Staff, yep.
staff. And then you've got the increase of camp staff. What was the number on that again?
For the playgrounds program, it was just one more
Just
staff
one more
person.
staff?
Yep.
Okay, and then you have the camp supervisor. And then the assistant at the community center, that's the one, is that the one who's 8 to 1, right?
So there's a
Or
part-time,
afternoon one.
yes. So from right now, during the 10 weeks of camp, it's always been in the budget to have somebody in the office from 1 to 4:30, just looking to extend that to 52 weeks, so that there would always be somebody in the community center office available to help patrons coming in to use the facility.
Okay, so that's still in your part-time budget?
Correct,
They'd
because it
still
would just be
that
one-
half-day person. So you'd have 2 half-day people?
No, the technical assistant that works 8 to 4 is part-time, but she is in the budget she has benefits because of the
Okay.
hours at work. This is just somebody
Gotcha.
3.5 hours a day.
Okay, so the technical assistant who's there 8 to 4, she's only there in that space 8 to 1? Am I understanding that right? So
Right,
she's
so
still
it's-
full-time? because
In Parks and Rec, we have 2 part-time technical assistants that receive benefits because they're working more than just the 19 and a half hours. So one is housed in the main office and the other position's housed over at the community center.
Gotcha. Okay, and I thought I missed one when I was writing them down. Did I miss something there?
Just increasing the aquatics director by 2
Aquatics
weeks.
director.
2 additional weeks for the aquatics director.
Okay.
And that's the person who oversees all the indoor and the outs, and obviously Willard Pool and Millwoods Pond in the summer, and then Backman Pool during the school year.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then one more question about positions. I'm seeing the requested positions that wasn't in the proposed budget. Can you tell us more about this if you haven't yet?
All right, are you on to number 2?
Yes, number
Okay.
2. Oh, you haven't started there yet.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
that's
go
fine,
ahead.
I said.
If nobody else has questions.
I was giving you the opportunity in between, so.
So anybody else on this? Because I have one or two.
I have some, but it's not on that, no.
I actually,
You're going to sit in the next section though, right?
the next section, yeah, the requested positions, and then I was going to go on to CNF and CIP.
Before that, I think you mentioned, and maybe it's coming up, the 25,000 for early childhood education, WEC. Is that from the funds that we invested a few months ago, and there was some question on where we could apply them? Remember, we made an investment, the council did, in early childhood education, and Kim had asked us when we could, Kim Bobbin, the WEC coordinator, asked us when we could access those funds, and is that the same?
No, my understanding is that, so we've always, for the early childhood coordinator position, it's been a split position between funding between the Board of Ed and the Parks and Rec Department. So we're looking to, $25,000 has been put in by the Board of Ed. We put in the other $25,000. What Kim Bobbin was asking you about, and Fred chime in if I'm wrong, was that when looking at reappropriating the ARPA funds, looking at doing scholarships for preschool.
This was an additional 25,000, we put it in there
Correct.
from the former ARPA funds.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with this.
But nothing with this, okay.
Nothing to do with the
And then
position.
lastly, just to clarify, and I think I've got it, but I want to make sure I've got it. So last year, for the first time, and this may be for Fred and Mike as well, we put $50,000 into the town events. I thought to take money out of the individual department events, budgets, in order to, I'll say, centralize the accounting and centralize the payment, and that, so if the police come and support our event and there's overtime, that's coming out of this town council 50,000, but we're also tracking it, and it's going over that amount, and each department, it's now part of your budget, so kind of help me a little bit. I think I've got most of it, but maybe not
Yeah,
all.
so as Mike stated before, the expenses are way more than the 50,000. And there was, because the events change and we get new events every year, it didn't make sense to pre-allocate, because we really don't know until we get through the process. If you've been part of this, any of the events, we do pre-planning meetings with those involved with the events. So there's a lot that goes into it. And then the police come up with their plan for how they're going to, their ops plan for how they're going to deal with that event. And then based upon that, we task physical services in terms of, we need dump trucks in certain locations, things like that. So there's no way to pre-allocate this money. So what we determined, Mike and I, with the best course to do this was to have everyone go ahead and just track everything. They'll pay for it out of their budget right now, and at the end of the year, when we're settling everything up, we'll determine what's available and how to divvy up that $50,000 to reduce the impact on the various budgets. This year, as an example, we've already spent some of the money for the fireworks. We spent some of that money for the Sharkovich funeral event. We spent some of that money on the upcoming Vietnam and wall program that's going to be going on. So there's already only about 15,000 left, so that's not going to go very far. So that's why we didn't think it was appropriate to pre-allocate it, because the idea was that that money was there for the council to determine what they wanted for certain events, and that's been happening, and what's left, we will basically allocate based upon what we have left. But we spend much more than that, and we can provide you all with an accounting of all the events to date this year by department, and I think you'd be shocked about the hours that go into these. I think they're incredibly important for the town, and we need to keep doing them, which is why I asked you to put this money in, because otherwise we wouldn't have anywhere to pull for the things we have spent the money on to date. But we're learning this year, and we'll give you a full accounting of that at the end of the year.
Thank you.
Mike, you wanna add
I
anything to
understand
that?
the explanation. Okay.
Just to the extent that there's overruns or excess costs, another reason we want them in the department is so every department head is aware from the time that those are incurred that they're carrying those, and their costs that they may have to bear, that they don't get relieved at the end of the year. So it's just like the alarm system at the community center, totally unforeseen. That's something that it's in Rachel's budget, and she has to manage accordingly.
Understood. Thank you. So if there's no other, Councilor Bailey.
With most of these events, with the exception of a couple that you listed, they've been going on for years. They haven't been accountable, or, nobody's written down how many police we had, how many public works, how many, whatever the expenses were. It just seems, other than Robbie's and, the wall, new things, I understand that, but, holidays on Main, porches on Main, all that other stuff seems to have gone on for years. Well, Porch Fest is only a couple years old. The car show, the Bobby Garden car show that we
And
do.
like I said, there are some
Yeah.
exceptions.
But what I will tell you is that the safety precautions have increased dramatically in the last few years because of a necessity due to, what we're dealing with nationally. We just saw yet another event up in Vancouver yesterday where 11 people, I think, were killed for a car driving through an event like this. And they didn't have, the type of safety that we try to make sure we have for these events. So that has driven up the cost dramatically, and a lot of the groups that are holding these events are nonprofits, and their whole purpose of holding these events are to raise funds. If we charge them for everything we do, they would make no money. In fact, it probably cost them money. So what we're trying to do is strike that balance. At some point, there's going to be a breaking point. We're not going to be able to do anymore. I think we're really close to that now. But I think the ones that we do are important, but it's vitally important that we maintain the safety at these things. So we have increased the safety, which has increased the cost. But to your point, yes, a lot of these have been going on for years, but I will tell you that in years past, there wasn't near the level of safety precautions that we're taking now.
Councilor Bailey, all set? Councilor Clancy, did you have your hand up?
Yeah.
Councilor Clancy.
Just about the aquatics training. Is that Red Cross certification is what you're going to accomplish by hiring somebody to be able to teach everyone else?
Correct. So right now, we don't have anybody in-house who has the lifeguard instructor certification. And so our hope is that if we have a staff person that receives that training, then that will allow us to run all of our lifeguard classes, but we also have to recertify all of our lifeguards every 2 years per requirements from the Red Cross. So it would actually be a cost savings if we're able to send somebody to the training to get the certification, whereas right now we're having to pay outside vendors to come in and run our lifeguarding classes for us, which we sometimes are running up to 3 lifeguard classes a year, and then our recertification that we do in June, in addition to our open waterfront certification that we have to provide for staff at Millwoods.
You know how much it will save?
If we get 8, we'd probably be saving about $2,000.
Okay. And does it need to be Red Cross? I mean, is there a reason why it's Red Cross versus something else, or?
We've always just maintained the Red Cross waterfront Red Cross certification for our staff. I'm not aware of other
It's
programs.
not an insurance requirement or anything like that?
Not insurance requirement that I'm aware of. It's just the process that I'm familiar with. I don't know if American Heart Association does it or not, but we've just always done the Red Cross certification.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Clancy. If no one has, Counselor Carbone?
Thank you. Hi. This might be a question for you, Fred. So 2 years ago, before we put the $50,000 in the town council budget to help out with these events, where was the money being pulled from? Because it wasn't from each individual department.
It was each individual department. Yeah, so basically you saw the overtime numbers that, the chief was presenting wasn't an accurate representation of their overtime because of all the events. Normally police overtime, it's essentially, call outs and things like that. Whereas this is, we had a huge percentage of their overtime was based upon these community events. So
it'd be in the police department
police
overtime
department budget,
not necessarily
parks and rec budget,
Okay.
physical services budget. Yeah.
So this isn't new, having it in this capacity?
No. Tracking it like this is not new, although we did set up new line items to specifically track it, because before, for some departments, it would just go in as overtime. But we specifically said we wanted to see by event and by department what
Okay.
the expenses were, so that we can come up with a reasonable number for y'all. We threw the $50,000 out there knowing it wasn't going to be enough to cover these, but that, it was a start, and then we would come back to you after we've done a detailed tracking to give you what the cost of these are.
Okay, thank you. And then, so Rachel, I'm looking at the personnel data summary, and at the end of the proposed, it's your whole, right? You're 23 and a third position, is that correct? Right?
I'm sorry.
So I'm looking at the personnel data summary, page 248.
248.
Because I was really, please forgive me, I was really struggling with the whole part-time, full-time, aquatics, this, whatever. Because I'm trying to see your positions, right? These are your positions available, and did you lost some, are you shifting some?
So you're looking at page 248?
Yes, because on
So in
249,
kind of
you're whole, like at the end of it. So did you lose positions? Did you shift positions? Because I hear you asking for positions, but at the end of the day, it looks like you're whole according to this, no?
So
Or the same.
248 is the full-time staff. That the page
And
you're looking at?
part-time, right? It says part-time underneath.
Oh, yeah, so part-time staff. So, so we're not,
Everybody, is that what you're saying?
yes, we're not losing we're not losing full-time staff.
Okay, so like the therapeutic rec supervisor, there's nothing proposed there for this year? Or
So
did that
if you-
change?
No, if you go back to page 243, when you're looking at the organizational chart,
Okay.
there was discussions about how right now we have we have 2 rec supervisors, we have a therapeutic recreation coordinator, and we have a youth development manager.
Okay.
When you look at other towns in the park and rec departments, they just have general recreation supervisor titles. They're not siloed per se into therapeutic recreation. So I can speak for Glastonbury. Anna Park oversees therapeutic recreation, but her title is recreation supervisor because she oversees the TR and additional stuff as far as that. So in the page on 248, yes, you're going to see that for proposed 25-26, there is no therapeutic recreation supervisor, there is no youth development manager, but you'll see that under rec supervisor 1, that there's 2 proposed positions. So just looking to change the title of those 2 positions to a rec supervisor 1.
Okay,
Counselor Carbone?
I'm good.
Good?
So did you kind of just change names, essentially? Same job, change names, okay.
Change name. More, it's just uniformity across the department.
Okay, again, so you're not increasing any positions then, because like the summer, this talks about part-time as well, and you are increasing it by 2 positions, correct, your ask? I thought you were going from 13 to 15.
But I think, I didn't put together this chart.
Yeah, there's lots of charts in here that are very confusing. Maybe we should be going by charts.
I would recommend that we remember that in recreation for the part-time staff, those that are listed, I mean, they do change, depending on the needs of the programs that Rachel and Kathy before her were doing.
Okay.
So, oftentimes I'll see things changing in pay change forms and stuff like that, and it's just what the needs of the program are at the time. So we're not necessarily increasing or decreasing staff, but a rec leader 4 versus a rec leader 3, or someone's getting promoted to be a supervisor.
Yeah, but it says you wanted to add 2 more part-time summer positions, correct?
Correct.
But I don't know that they're all quite listed in that chart.
Okay.
So that chart is just the full-time people and what I would call the head part-time people. Rachel's got
I see.
lots of other staff that she has to hire every summer to
Gotcha.
accommodate all the camps and all the programs. And then there's, people that do the musical, and there's a musical director, and there's staff that do that, and we don't list them all out in the
Okay.
budget.
So when we look at the actual budget, the salaries, those aren't broken down, hold on, I've got to find the other chart.
The part-time account would encompass all of those people.
Okay.
We just don't list all of them out
Where it says
in the budget
part-time staff,
document.
so the 370,036 would be all of the summer staff, and the increase in the $30,000 are the 2 positions, the extra 2 weeks, that kind of stuff, all lumped in.
That gets all incorporated into that large number.
Okay, awesome.
So trying to pick it apart, it gets a little bit,
Dicey.
I wouldn't even want to try to do it.
Yeah.
But Rachel does a fine job.
Yeah, so it's even though it says rec leader 4.95, we have probably 80-something rec leaders on payroll. But again, majority of a lot of Parks and Rec programs are self-sustaining. So when we look at the staff that we're hiring for the majority of our programs, they're self-sustaining. We're only putting the budget requests for therapeutic recreation, for our aquatics, and for community playground, which are programs that we don't consider to be self-sustaining.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Rachel. Councilor Carbone, you good?
I'm good now, thank you.
Rachel, you can keep going. You have another whole area.
So to the next point about the requested positions, and I know Councilor Zambrella had a question, but hopefully I'll try and answer it before you go back. So that when I had submitted my budget to finance department, to the town manager, I had put in for a reclassification of a position. You don't see that reflected on page 7 and 8 of the budget. I was looking to, as we're slowly working on backfilling our position, so obviously we have to backfill the assistant director position, we have to backfill our administrative analyst position. That person retired in June, so we're working on backfilling the positions. We anticipate having a vacant part-time technical analyst position. Again, the reminder, our part-time actually comes with benefits because you're working the 25 hours a week. I was looking to reclassify that position from a part-time technical analyst to a full-time special events marketing coordinator person. We've spent a lot of time talking about special events. I know the police are getting up and presenting after me. I think we have 22 special events on the calendar for this year, which is great and fantastic. It's what makes Wethersfield special. There was a great story on Channel 8 regarding the superhero race yesterday, and we got a great note from CCMC that they loved how people were coming out of their houses in Old Wethersfield and playing music and cheering the runners on. But with 22 special events, that takes up a lot of time, and was looking to have a person that could organize our special events, do all of the marketing, and potentially look at doing sponsorship opportunities as we continue to host these events and the costs associated with them.
Anything else, Rachel?
Anything else for that job classification? Okay. So for CNEF requests, it says, see page 280, and it says none for Parks and Rec, but actually one of the CNEF requests that is on page 280, you will notice the last one for physical services. It says SUV Parks and Recreation. So we We used to have 2 vehicles. We are down to 1 vehicle, so was looking to get an additional vehicle for Parks and Recreation. So I had reached out to Physical Services, and they put that in their CNEF request under their item. And then the last thing I have is our CIP requests, which are on page 276. And the projects are outlined in front of you along with the ranking for CIAC and the requested amount. I just wanted to touch upon a couple of them briefly, and I'm happy to answer any additional questions. The first one you see is the replacement of the banquet room HVAC, which was our number 1 CIP request. The current unit is 27 years old. This past summer, if anybody went to the community center, the unit stopped working, and we literally had to have sprinklers on the roof for over a week to physically cool the HVAC system, and spent $5,000 to have a company come out. So in the heat of the summer, we were without air conditioning in the banquet room. We are working on getting cost estimates to redo that project. The Willard Pool renovations, which was our number 2, was to redo the surface at the instructional pool at Willard, which is where we host all of our swim lessons. It also has the ADA ramp allowing folks access into the pool. The community center parking lot, which has been out there for a while, needing to redo that. The Nature Center HVAC upgrade. So the 4 units at the Nature Center now are 24 years old. And the same thing too, if you've been to the Nature Center in the summer with over 100 campers, frequently they are not working. We put in the request for a multi-sport grass field at Millwoods, which has always been part of the master plan. Color coding some tennis and pickleball courts. We requested ADA playground equipment at Highcrest. The principal there has reached out in regards to additional ADA pieces at Highcrest, as they have a student there and another incoming student next year that are in wheelchairs. The Solomon Wells House exterior repairs, which celebrated its 250th anniversary this year, so work for that, and the parking lot. So I went through the list of how we ranked them for CIP, and then in front of you is how CIAC ranked our projects.
Thank you, Rachel. Very comprehensive. We appreciate it. Any further questions for Parks and Rec for Rachel? Anybody? Councilor Dirk.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question on the community center and banquet room renovation. So that's all just for the HVAC service?
It was just for the HVAC replacement.
$746,000.
$746,000. We already have money that was given before in an account. So we're looking at over $800,000 for the HVAC unit.
And the web field, would that make any sense to do it now because we're looking into possibly renovating schools? Or should that be just put aside for now until we see if the
Millwoods master plan that was done in 2004 that we're working on doing, that we're updating right now, will show another multi-sport field up at Millwoods.
I'm talking about the web field.
Oh, sorry, Webb Field, sorry. I'm sorry. Webb Field will be open for discussion. The drainage, if anybody's been there for a football game, it's bad. And so we're just looking at doing the drainage, and that would be a discussion as you're looking at transforming Webb to a 5-6 academy. I don't know if that will include expanding the footprint or not, and whether there would be opportunity to get a field along with that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dirk. Any further? I don't know who was Councilor Clancy.
I have just a question, and I think it's just to the town manager, probably because I didn't understand what you said about the special events money. Mm-hmm. There's the money that went to the wall. That's the $10,000 from the mayor's charity ball. Is there more money that went to the wall?
Yes.
How much is that?
$5,000 from the events fund went to the wall.
Okay.
From the town.
All right, thank you.
It's 14,000. They've raised 7,000 through the mayor's ball. We gave 3,000 to the food bank of the 10,000.
Oh, sorry, okay.
5,000 went to town, and they've also raised a bunch of other private money. So, but good question. Councilor Bailey.
Millwoods lacrosse field, $1 million. Where do you want that?
Where do we want it in Millwoods?
Yeah, it says a grass, you're talking regular turf.
Yep. Cost
$1 million.
$1 million is the quote that we got.
To put it where?
Be putting it on the upper field, so where right now, if you think about the outfields of 3 and 4, we'd be looking to put a multi-sport field there. But that comes along with required drainage, so actually building a proper field.
Is that Counselor Bailey? Okay. Counselor Carbone?
Thank you. So just quickly, at Highcrest, there currently is a child in a wheelchair. So are we out of ADA compliance? Because you're looking for ADA compliance.
We are not. We did, using CIP funding
Yeah, I
2 years
remember
ago, we installed the ADA mats, so that brought the child, because the swing set was at the far end of the playground, and there was not the surfacing that's there, the mulch fiber is ADA, but the mats help with the accessibility of getting out there. So we use CIP money to push those mats to go out further. The principal is looking for a large piece of equipment that would be an extension off that would allow the student to get onto, I'm trying to think of how to explain it to you. So I'm thinking of like the saucer cup. So it's a big piece of equipment that revolves around, but a student can walk onto it, but a student can also roll their wheelchair onto it and participate in the activity with everybody else.
Okay.
So
we are in compliance.
We are in compliance. We're just
add
looking,
in addition to another
looking
piece
to
of equipment
expand.
to the
Yep.
playground. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Is that Counselor Carbone?
Yes, thank you.
Are there any further comments or questions for Parks and Recreation? Great job, Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now our police, chief, deputy chief, lieutenants, everyone. Might need some more chairs up there.
I think we got a couple out there.
Yeah, we'll be good. Thank you for coming a little early. Appreciate it.
Mr. Manager, the part-time and the seasonal raises every year, they're the same across the board, right?
No, it really depends on the position. Yeah, there's a minimum increase that we have to do when the state comes out with those, and that'll be for the minimum. For those at the minimum, it'll be across the board. But then that creates a situation where you have to adjust everyone else, and depending on where they are, because you don't want compression. So it's an exercise we have to do every year over the last few years when they raise that minimum, that we have to adjust the salary scales accordingly, and it's not the same across the board. It depends on the position.
Damn. Like the squad room.
Counselors, I think we started on page 150. It says 161 in this book, but 150 to
It says 150 to
150
165.
to 165.
165?
It's 150.
Page 150.
It starts at 150. All right, thank you.
Chief.
Thank you, chief. We were running ahead of schedule. Thanks for coming early. Wow. Thank you. Still 15 minutes.
Get out of it.
Next year.
Yeah.
Ready?
You've been doing a
Ain't
pretty
seen
good
nothing
job.
Did I tell you that when I was in Kentucky, I watched the Cardinals beat Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Did I tell you that?
Appreciate that.
Leadership team?
Oh, seriously, did I tell you that? Did I tell you that? I learned recently
I'm still a little confused
Yeah.
over part.
I learned recently that you attended.
Fantastic. Good.
went through it so
Fantastic.
$1 million for that.
I did. I did it live. I didn't have your number at the time, so I couldn't do it, but.
You're good whenever you're ready, chief.
Just make sure you speak right into the microphone, otherwise it's not going to pick it up.
Yes, sir. Oh, that's loud. A little too close to the microphone. All right. So, good evening, Town Manager Presley, Mayor Lesser, Deputy Mayor Forrest, and members of the Town Council. My name is Rafael Medina III, and I have the honor of serving as the Chief of Police for the Wethersfield Police Department. Deputy Chief Rodriguez is to my right, Lieutenant James Booyak, Rich Houghton, Joseph Bache, and Budget Analyst Tanisha Murray are accompanying me this evening. As we begin, I'd first like to express our appreciation for the continued support of the Wethersfield Police Department's mission and operations. This evening, we will briefly review the status of our current fiscal 24-25 adopted budget. Following that, we will present our proposed fiscal year 25-26 budget, outlining the resources and initiatives we believe are necessary to continue providing professional, effective, and community-focused law enforcement services to the town of Wethersfield. At the conclusion of our presentation, we welcome any questions or discussion you may have. This slide depicts the organizational rank structure of the Wethersfield Police Department. As you can see, at the top is the Director of Public Safety, which is the Town Manager, Fred Presley. Myself, the Chief of Police, Deputy Chief Gustavo Rodriguez. You have my Confidential Secretary, EAP Coordinator, PIO, and Lieutenant Bache. And then we have our 4 divisions. Our Detective Division, which is being overseen by Lieutenant James Buyak. Patrol Division, which is being overseen by Lieutenant Jacob Obcharski. Professional Standards and Internal Affairs, which is being overseen by Lieutenant Bache. And our Support Services Division, which is being overseen by Lieutenant Houghton. The Wethersfield Police Department is currently budgeted for 65 full-time employees, and there are no requests for additional positions. This slide depicts the positions and the number of employees for each position that's allocated in our budget. For background purposes, the adopted budget for the Wethersfield Police Department for fiscal year 24-25 was $12,828,143. As of March 31st, 25, we expended $8,292,145 with $8,292,145,000 with $4,535,988.98 or 35% remaining. $7,807,081 was for personnel expenses, $455,909 for non-personnel costs, and $29,255 for encumbrances. The adopted budget for personnel expenditures for 24-25, like I stated, was $12,134,088. As of March 31st, we expended $7,807,081. This current slide shows a breakdown of personnel expenditures by object. 94% or $7,319,015 is due to contractual salaries, health insurance, pension, defined contribution, and workers' compensation. 6% or $488,066 of the expenditure is due to overtime pay. And you have that one object, the $5,006 private duty department charges. That's equated to some of the town events that you were talking about previously with Parks and Rec. The adopted overtime budget for fiscal year 24-25 was $518,545. Per the calculations provided to us by Finance, as of March 31st, 2025, we have expended $488,066, or 94% of our overtime budget, or 6% remaining. This slide depicts the adopted amounts for each division of the police department and the expenditures for each. As you can see, administration, which is our professional standards, we have available 86%. We use 14%. Patrol, we have 13%, used 87%. And then we're in the negatives for detective support services and dispatch. Now that's what's provided to us by Finance. 2 things to note. We, as a command staff, we have bi-weekly overtime meetings to discuss overtime by each division during the pay period. And at the same time last year, we had 8% of $41,294 of our budget remaining. Currently, per our calculations, not to dispute what Finance has given us, we have approximately 10% or $50,866 of our budget remaining. We have looked at the contract and the schedule to address these issues, and based on our calculations, considering grants utilized to cover overtime, reimbursement from the DEA and Board of Ed, we estimate that we have expended $467,679, or 90% of our overtime budget thus far, with 6 pay periods remaining. That puts us in with 4% of what the Finance Department is telling us. They've given us a calculation of $488,066. Our team is coming up with projected overtime right now of $467,679. So we're off by $20,000. So we're in that 4% range of what finance has given us. So what are our driving costs of overtime? Professional standards, that's the mandatory training. If you see it, professional standards, mandatory training, $18,213. That was unexpected overtime training for a recruit at the academy. Post changed how they were doing their training, and they're extending their days by, there were 10-hour training days, which put us 2 hours of overtime each day for one of our recruits at Post. So that was a big hit to our budget there. Patrol, backfilling, mandated training, vacancies, 3 officers out on paternity leave, and then we had an injury. Detective division reflects callbacks for crime scene processing, allowing the patrol to resume operations. And as you can see from our slide, we're in the black in all of our divisions except for one, which is communications, which is our dispatch. The driving cost on that is double time and meal breaks, which equated to $83,828. That was due to being down a dispatcher from April to present, and also negotiating a new contract, which was ratified in January. With the ratification of the new contract, dispatch is going to a 4-2 schedule to mirror what patrol's been doing, and we just hired a dispatcher to fill that vacancy. So hopefully we'll see come July 1 with the ratification of the new contract and go into the new schedule, and we reduce that cost. In patrol, to reduce overtime, we reassign inside personnel to fill patrol when not conflicting with the contract. Mandatory training days, such as firearms and defensive tactics, we have spread throughout the month. We have spread those out throughout the month, focusing on training days with above minimum staffing. The past practice would be to have the training for all sworn personnel in 1 week, creating high overtime costs. Spreading the training days out throughout an entire month allows for reassignment without having to backfill for overtime from all different shifts. This doesn't eliminate overtime, but it helps us manage the overtime. Our elective training is any specialized school or investigation course or instructor training, supervision or leadership course. What we've been doing to cut back on overtime costs is looking at the projected schedule on when the employee has requested to go to training class and forecast how much overtime backfilling the employee shift or paying overtime for attending on a scheduled day off, if any, would accrue by sending the employee. Some requests have been denied because the overtime has been too great. So this slide provides a comprehensive overview of the police department's overtime expenditure from fiscal year 2015 to fiscal year 2024, and the projected costs for fiscal year 24-25. Over the 9-year period from fiscal year 15 to 2024, the department has spent a total of $6,347,694 on overtime, averaging $705,299 per year. For fiscal year 24-25, the projected overtime expenditure is $607,982, which is $97,317, or 13.8% below the 9-year average. Despite this reduction, the department is expected to exceed the budget by $89,437, or 17%, but we will still be $58,389, or 9% under fiscal year 23-24 expenditure. So if you look at this 10-year aggregate of overtime, I came in the year 21-22, and for historical background, for those of you who don't know on council, I think Deputy Mayor Forrest was the only one on council when I came in. That year, fiscal year 21-22, the adopted overtime budget for the police department was $679,523. Fiscal year 22-23, the budget was reduced by $160,978, a 24% reduction to my overtime budget, reducing it to $518,545. If the budget had remained at $679,523, the department could have come under budget this year by $71,541, or 11% reduction in the overtime budget, and based on what we've been doing over the last 3 years. Last year, we left the overtime budget flat at $518.45, and you'll see this year we're doing the same. This fiscal year will mark the lowest overtime cost since fiscal year 2016-2017, with a total reduction of $208,039 over the last 4 fiscal years. The fiscal year 24-25 adopted budget for non-personnel expenditures was $694,055. As of March 31st, 25, we have expended $485,064, which is the $455,909 plus the $29,155 in encumbrances, which is 70% of our adopted amount, leaving $208,992 in our budget for this year, which is 30% remaining. This slide provides a detailed breakdown of the expenditures by object. Currently, we are over budget in one object, which is the 52267 software as a service cloud, by $931. The overages is attributed to just IT services. So that's the overview for the fiscal year 24-25. Now the proposed budget, WPD proposed budget for fiscal year 25-26. The proposed request increase of $511,659, or 422%, reflects a rise in personnel costs driven by several key factors. Contractual salary increase amounting to $410,694. FICA Life AD&D totaling $19,670. Health insurance amounting to $174,924. Defined contributions plan totaling $4,068. And workers' compensation amounting to $19,071. As I stated earlier in the previous slide, it is important to note that the overtime remains flat at $518,545. I'm not asking for an increase this year in overtime. This PowerPoint slide summarizes the changes in the 2025-2026 proposed non-personnel operating budget compared to 2024-2025 approved budget, their adopted budget. This reflects a shift in priorities with significant investment in technology, infrastructure, and digital services, while reducing costs where feasible due to internal efficiencies and staffing. The overall total non-personnel operating expense increased by $85,358, a 12.3% increase from $694,055 to $779,413. The major reasons for this increase are in Object 52267, software as a service cloud, our body-worn cameras, Paladin drone contractual maintenance fee, and IT service fees that equates to $78,658. IT equipment, software, computer, and camera infrastructures, and the new GoNet Speed program, $44,700 under 54412. Contractual increase in custodial, $9,744. Specialized supplies, $3,936. That's our ammunition, taser cartridge, and our DARE supply cost increases. Then we have our office supplies of $4,000, our travel training dues of $2,000. To summarize our major increases. Now, our major decreases are professional services. The ACO position was changed to a full-time position. That reduced our cost by $43,760. Our clothing, we moved to a web-based uniform replacement system. That reduced it by $12,710. Copy and binding, we had a surplus when we did our inventory, so we reduced that by $2,510. Our equipment, fewer new officers, reduced the equipment needs by almost $4,000. And then our furnishings that we normally budget $550 for, it's in good condition, so we zeroed that out, 100% decrease there. So everything I've just spoken to you about is all reflected on page 37 of your books. That one line was created out of those last few slides. As this slide depicts the requested overall budget increase of 4.65%, or $597,017 from $12,828,143 to $12,828,143 to $13,425,160. Next is our capital improvement plan, CIP request, which is on page 276 of your books. For fiscal year 25-26, the Wethersfield Police Department respectfully requests $43,660 to initiate phase 1 of a 2-phase upgrade of building management system BMS controllers. The current building management system BMS operates on outdated legacy controllers that are no longer manufactured or supported. As these components age, they become increasingly susceptible to failure, impacting critical systems, efficient and safe operations, including our HVAC system, lighting, and security. This project will replace the existing unsupported BMS controllers with modern, fully supported controllers and programming. The BMS controllers act like the centralized brain of the building's operational system, ensuring optimal performance by collecting real-time data from various sensors to control heating, cooling, ventilation, lighting, and security systems. By upgrading the current generation controllers, the town will achieve improved energy efficiency, increased reliability, enhanced security integration, predictive maintenance capabilities, and system longevity and supportability. Failure to replace these controllers may result in rising energy and operational costs due to inefficiencies, increased likelihood of equipment failure, leading to potential service interruptions, difficulty sourcing replacement parts for legacy systems, compromised system functionality, including safety and security operations, missed opportunities for automation, monitoring, and sustainability improvements. Next are capital non-reoccurring expenditure fund, CNEF requests, page 280. First is the Wethersfield Police Department requests funding to purchase a new 29-foot patrol vessel valued at $250,000 to replace our current marine patrol boat, which is no longer safe and reliable to use in active water patrol operations. The operational need, the marine unit is tasked with patrolling 5.18 miles of shoreline, 68.12 acre cove area, 70.5 acre Crow's Point body of water, and potential emergency response at 1860 Reservoir. If you look at the next page in your handout, which is not in the slide presentation, you will see a map of the waterfront area that indicates where we're at. Obviously, the 1860 Reservoir area is in the center of town, but the other one's on the shoreline. The current vessel is not designed for law enforcement purposes and presents critical safety and performance issues, including it lists to the left during operations, impairing its ability to navigate. It's had engine failure during mutual aid response in the Connecticut River when it had to be towed back into the cove and be taken to dry dock for repairs. From January 1 to October 16, 2024, the Marine Unit responded to 33 incidents in the cove area alone. These include disturbance calls at the cove, park boat launch, public assistance, and emergency responses. The new vessel will significantly enhance the department's capacity for waterborne patrol, emergency rescue, recovery missions, regional mutual aid, and increased patrol time. This investment in a purpose-built law enforcement-grade patrol vessel will ensure that the Wethersfield Police Department can continue to safeguard its waterways, protect the public, and meet the growing demands of regional coordination and emergency preparedness. Excuse me. Increased water activity and public use of the Connecticut River area underscored the need for enhanced patrol capabilities. Furthermore, the town's historic district and critical infrastructure lie within the 100-year flood plan, making a robust waterborne emergency response necessary amid increasing severe weather events. Increased patrol time means greater visibility, proactive law enforcement, and community engagement on the water. Our second request is in the amount of $76,715 to purchase a Ford F-150 S-Crew XL to serve as the town's new animal control officer ACO vehicle. We have determined that this vehicle will best meet the operational needs and safety of the ACO, especially given the volume and nature of calls related to domestic animals and wildlife within town. The F-150 S-Crew XL configuration offers a practical function design that supports the daily requirements of our ACO, including separate animal transport compartment, extended cab, and increased cargo capacity. The current ACO vehicle, a 2010 Ford E250 van has approximately 62,610 miles, has visibly body wear and tear, and has been repurposed for training support, limiting reliability and availability for daily ACO operations. Our third request is a budget allocation of $13,000 to reorganize and renovate the records unit. This renovation consolidates archive records on the second and first floors to centralized storage area adjacent to the central records unit. Primary objectives to improve efficiency, enhance security, and ensure compliance with the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies CALEA standard, specifically 82.2.4, which requires all agency records to be maintained in a single secure location. By consolidating records into one central repository, document retrieval will be faster and more accurate, chain of custody and document integrity will be better preserved, and the department will be better positioned to maintain its CALEA accreditation. With that, currently in the records unit, we have the main records unit on the first floor, where it has a series of stalls that have files in them, but we have 2 offices on the second floor that also have those files. That's not good use of space. And also it's not compliant with CALEA. Moving those 2 from the second floor to the first floor will put us in compliance. We'll put all the files in a central location, but it also frees up 2 offices for us. One, to move our IT unit from a shared capacity in our community policing office to their own office, and the radio division out of that same office into their office, which now gives us our office for strictly community policing planning. So it's making our building more efficient with the limited space that we do have. This slide depicts the comparison from fiscal year 25-26 for CIP and CNF funding requests. There was no request for CIP last year. CNF was $67,963 for the brand new cruiser that was allocated to us. As you can see from this presentation, we are not asking for any new cruisers. Our fleet is in good shape, as we've been doing and working on the last 3 years, taking our new cruisers, putting them out to patrol, making sure if they do have any issues that they're under warranty, being fixed right away, which extends the life of our fleet. So our fleet looks good right now on the patrol side. So in conclusion, the Wethersfield Police Department respectfully requests an overall budget increase of 4.65%. This proposed increase reflects a 4.22% rise in personnel costs and a 12.3% increase in non-personnel funding, which are essential to maintaining appropriate staffing levels, preserving employee benefits, and for supporting critical operational needs. This budget demonstrates the department's ongoing commitment to public safety, operational efficiency, and long-term financial responsibility, ensuring we continue to meet the needs of the Wethersfield community with professionalism and accountability. The capital improvement plan CIP request for 25-26 includes $43,660 for phase 1 of upgrading the building management system controllers, addressing issues with outdated, unsupported legacy controllers. The capital non-recurring expenditure fund CNEF requests for fiscal year 25-26 include $250,000 for a new patrol vessel, $76,715 for a new animal control ACO vehicle, and $13,000 for renovations of our Wethersfield Police Department records unit. The new vessel addresses safety and performance issues, while the new ACO vehicle meets operational needs. The renovation of the record unit aims to centralize archive records, improve efficiency, enhance security, and ensure compliance with our CALEA standard. With that, that concludes our presentation. Any questions?
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate the thoroughness of your report and your budget request. And also thank you to all you and your entire leadership team here tonight and your entire staff on all the great work you do for our town. And it certainly is a point of community pride to talk about having the lowest crime rate in the area. We mention it a lot, and it's to your leadership and your whole team, all the whole staff. So we appreciate that. With that, I'm going to ask councilors for questions or comments on the proposed police budget. Councilor Bailey.
Just have 2 quick ones. Your IT increase, does that have anything to do with the towers? We're doing a bunch of upgrades there.
Are you referring to 52267, Counselor Peace? Really?
Yeah.
All right, that has to do on the main, you have the book that breaks it down and centralizes it. I have the main sheet in front of me. That includes our RMS CAD maintenance, 22,000, our CROG Capital First Net, our Power DMS training. That's Faro mapping for our Faro mapping system for our accident reconstruction. That's our WatchGuard, which I highlighted, and that's that Paladin drone year 2 of 3 for our drone program. Those are the big ones that pretty much increase that. Outside of the other things that have been in there that IT can talk to with the Hunter mugshot software, net motion maintenance, malware bites. This is a long list of stuff that goes into that one line item that you're looking at. So, but the major highlights that I pointed out that caused that increase were police-related, CAD RMS and Power DMS. And
All right, I just want to make sure we're not doubling up because
No.
the radio system does have a.
No,
The
you're
other thing, no cruisers this year, which is appreciated, but are there going to be some of these cars getting out of warranty?
The cars are on a 3-year warranty, and the fleet's been good in the last 3 years. So we're coming up on that for that first wave. I mean, Lieutenant Holton's the one who oversees the fleet. He can speak more to it. But when we manage it, we're coming up on that. The older fleet right now, that's coming out 3 years. They've been put on patrol. They've been run. They've broken down. They've been fixed. So we've been repairing them. So we're hopefully extending the life even longer on that, those first group. So hopefully we can extend it longer and longer. I know the town's looking for us to give up cars, but I'm trying to control costs. I'm trying to maintain them.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. Mayor.
Counselor Bailey. We got a lot here. I don't know whose hand was up. We'll go Counselor Clancy, then Counselor Colon, and then Counselor Derrick. Cindy, I saw your hand first. Counselor Clancy.
Sure. So the Paladin drone, is that a different drone? That's not the one we've already purchased.
That is the one we purchased.
Oh, it says new item here. That's why I thought, oh no, it's another drone. It's the same drone we
No, it's
already.
the same drone. We had it, well, because the first year we purchased it under asset forfeiture. So the first year's been paid for. So
we're
now
paying
this is
for
the
it
second
again.
year, which is the first year on the budget.
Okay.
So yes, it's a new item on his budget, but the first year was covered under asset forfeiture.
Okay.
So now this year and next year will be in the budget.
So along the same lines, I assume, so the street camera project is the automated ticket system that we're planning on. Is that correct?
We have a couple street projects. If you're talking about the Go Net Speed
Net
project
Speed.
with the
And it says
LPR and
street
cameras, that's
camera
one.
project, new item.
Which
No, it
one?
says go net
Which line?
speed under
No,
53370.
in the notebook.
So we have the budget, this book, and at the bottom it says street camera.
Oh, I thought you prepared this.
What are you talking about, this?
Maybe not.
No, I think this is Mike.
Under 412?
Fairly allocated on that, really.
Yeah, there are several things here I was
Which one?
curious about.
All right, he showed you which one. Which one was it, Mike? Which one?
It says street camera project, 28,800.
If you look on page 164 of
Got
the
it.
book, it says street camera project, go net speed,
This is mine, right?
28,800.
Microphone?
Yeah, we gotta make sure people can.
Sorry. Yeah, that's for connecting service to the cameras. In other words, so the cameras, the way they run right now, think of it as your cell phone, right? And they're talking to each other, and that signal is bouncing from one to the other. And if one breaks down in between, then they're not connecting. And so the solution to that was to go to fiber optic. And we have a test pole down at the Town Line Road where we hooked up fiber to it, and we've been running it since about November, December-ish. And it's been working appropriately because, think about it again, with your cell phone, you have a little signal, and then next thing you know, you connect to a Wi-Fi, and all of a sudden you're able to download and upload, and it's working as it should. And that's where that comes in. It's getting fiber to each pole so that we can send that feed to the station from each pole back to the station. And that allows us not only to look at the cameras live, but it gives us the ability to play back and go back historically when we're looking for vehicles, certain vehicles or people or suspects and things of that nature. So that's what that cost is. We didn't have that before. And so when this first project, when it first started back in 2019, none of us were in a leadership role here. And so that began. And so we've taken over, and the technology has obviously moved on. And so that we're kind of stuck. The cameras up on the Berlin Turnpike are not working at all because of they're not able to communicate.
So where are the cameras? There's Town Line Road and
Yeah, there's
Berlin
14.
Turnpike.
There's 14 poles in strategic locations throughout the town along the Silas and the Berlin Turnpike.
Is there a name for that system?
Is there
Is it called something? I mean, what do you call it?
We've called it the Street Cam Project. There's really no, we don't really have a name for the system. It's always been the Street Cam Project from its inception.
But that's not is that GoNet Speed?
No, the GoNet Speed is a service. It's almost
I'm
like
sorry,
cable.
Can you pull your mic down a little bit, okay?
I'm sorry. It's not the one that we've been talking about.
No, this
No,
is
not the red
completely
light.
different
It's a
from the
completely
red light.
different, that's what I was trying to establish.
Right, yeah, exactly. No, it's completely different. This system's been in place for a while. In fact, when you see, a lot of times, police departments in major areas like Wethersfield size and above have these cameras along the major throughways. And to do, just like the deputy chief stated, to, if there's a car they're trying to find, these cameras can be utilized to say, okay, yeah, we looked and we did a search, we have this camera. So completely different than the red light cameras, which will be much lower. They'll be, dedicated to a certain purpose, and that is to catch people running red lights or speeding. So it's not the same system.
Okay.
And we'll be hiring a company to manage that whole process.
Thank you. So the records retention, the records renovation, was that, when they did when you did the clear accreditation, did they mention that as an issue? Was that a concern by them?
There's two fronts on the concern for that. One, it's a violation of our CLIA accreditation standard, one. And two, one of the offices that they're housed in on the second floor, it's not designed for that, and it's interfering with our sprinkler system, which could be an OSHA
Would be
violation.
bad.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Okay.
we need to move those.
Okay, and for travel and training, is there any in-state lodging as part of any of that?
Travel and training,
Yeah.
the dues, we try to host a lot of the training, so we avoid the costs, first and foremost. Any training that we have outside, we try to utilize asset forfeiture for it. That's how we get the training for our officers, so we reduce the cost that's in here for that. It could be a lot more, so we try to control that as much as we can. But if it's an outside where they have to travel to Massachusetts or somewhere like that, that's paying for that cost of travel.
Right, but so we're not spending any money to put people in hotels in Connecticut for training?
No, if we have to, I'll do it out of asset forfeiture.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Clancy. Councilor Carbone.
Hi, thank you, gentlemen, for coming in. I do have quite a few questions, and I'm going to apologize to everyone ahead of time. But just for clarification purposes, I was going to try to jump in when you were talking about the GoNet Speed. You were just about, Deputy Chief, you're just about to touch base on the actual service. So it's more like, you said it's like a cable service. So this is going to be a yearly cost, almost the $29,000 essentially per year for those to work, for all of them to communicate.
Right, so right now it's $200 a month per pole.
Wow, okay. And you said there's 14 not working right now?
No, we have total that are 14.
Oh, sorry.
Right, and the ones on the Berlin Turnpike are not working right now.
And what are we gonna, will this cost get them up working? Will this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's exactly what it's going to do.
So last year, because it wasn't budgeted for last year, they were just not working and it wasn't
They
addressed?
haven't been working, the ones on the Berlin Turnpike, since they were put in back in 2019.
Okay. The other ones, were they working?
They have been working on the Silas Deane, yes.
And were you using the same, you weren't using this communication?
No, there was no fiber optic. It was working almost like off a SIM card, almost like cellular service.
Okay, interesting.
And bouncing from one, repeating from one to the other until it got to the police station.
So this 28,800 will make it whole and the whole system will be up and running and good to go?
Yes.
Recurring every year?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. The next one is, and I know you touched base on it, Chief, about a little bit, and Councilor Bailey was talking about the IT. So the watch guard maintenance, year 3 of 5, that jumped up. Can you explain that? Maybe you touched base on that and I just didn't understand it. It jumped from 5,400 to 48,000.
Because we neglected the budget for it last year when we should have. So we neglected the budget for it last year when we should have in the budget. We missed it. So we had to reappropriate funds from other objects to pay for it last year.
Okay.
Now it's in the budget.
Okay, so there'll be 2 more years at the 48,000
Correct.
after this? Okay, and then we'll be done with it.
Well, we're going to our year three of our 5-year lease right now.
Okay,
We're supposed to get them refurbished, but right now Lieutenant Holton's looking at working with Axon because this is they're state mandated. We can't go away from them. So in 2 years, we're going to be looking to transition over, either staying with WatchGuard and extending it, or going to Axon, which is another provider or vendor. The courts are utilizing Axon because now they have this evidence cloud where we upload our videos to the evidence cloud, and the courts can pull from that, so we don't have to put them on thumb drives and things like that. So we're trying to figure out how we're going to make this transition. But the cost is going to remain that or more in the future, for the foreseeable future, because it's mandated by the state.
and then I will agree with Counselor Clancy about the drone. It just looks when it's budgeted, so it wasn't budgeted last year for the drone? Or you
No.
said you paid for it out of forfeiture, so the
Yeah.
$29,000 would be not to purchase a drone, but to use the monitoring service? Because it's $29,000 now.
It's all encompassing for the software, for the Watchtower software that flies the drone,
Okay.
either via manually or by the computer, and it covers the drone itself. So you got the drone and you got the software that's covered under the $29,000. So we paid $29,000 on asset forfeiture last year for the same package we're getting this year and the next year, which is
Oh, so
upfront
it's not
cost.
like you purchased the drone and now we're just operating it. It's more almost like a lease situation where
Correct.
Okay.
Just like the body-worn cameras.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear on that because it's a little confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And then something I noticed too in your, the numbers is the cleaning contract, your custodial. Did their prices jump up? Is that what's happening? Because you only have like 9% left of your budget from last year? Left from them?
Last year, when the budget was done, somebody must have used old numbers
Okay.
from the previous cleaning company, so they were not right from the
Okay.
beginning.
Okay.
So this is just, so we're short.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering, because you only have 9% left, and then it jumps up by 10,000 with the, so, all right. So we gotta make you guys square, you gotta have a clean station. Doug, the animal control officer, so you had said you're not looking for new positions, but in the big book, last year, was there one budgeted for last year?
We had a part-time ACO last year, shared responsibility with Newington. We were paying them $40,000
Okay.
in shared responsibility.
So it's a part-time position?
It was a part-time position. Newington pulled out of the MOU with us, and now it's a full-time position. That was absorbed into the budget last year. So now it's just maintaining as a current position.
So just to clarify, so the agreement with Newington is they had the full-time ACO. We had a part-time position on our side. We shared both to pay the difference because they were paying for full-time with benefits. We paid them an additional $40,000, 43, whatever it was.
So same person, just different funding sources?
No,
I'm
so
confused.
they had an ACO, we had a part-time position, two
Okay.
people, and then we paid
Shared
them.
each of them, both of them?
We shared both of them,
Both, okay.
and so the idea with the part-timers that, the ACO can't be on all the time, so the part-timer would fill the off times. And so Newington basically called us earlier this year and said, we're not going to do this anymore. We're just going to keep ours, and we're not going to do the shared position anymore. So we had to react, and because we have to have an ACO. So that's why it's in the budget new this year. That's why you saw on the chief's presentation, there was a decrease on the non-personnel side of $40,000 and change that we were paying to Newington. So now that's a decrease in the budget, but now we have to pay for a full-time position on our side. So then you have the half-time, part-time salary, the $40,000. It's really not a huge increase across the board, but now that's going to fall completely within our department.
And then we don't have a pound though in town. Do we have a pound?
We
Here in
have
town,
it.
were we sharing one?
No, we have one at the, it needs help. And so we're looking at grants right now. But we do have one is down at the physical services location.
Was it running? Were we
Wouldn't
running
want your
it?
dog there.
Yes, we are.
You were, okay. Okay, all right.
Does Newington still use that?
have their own.
Does Newington still use our pound?
They have an agreement with a, like a doggy daycare kind of place too.
So they don't anymore?
No, they don't.
Rocky Hill?
So getting back to the cruisers, so have you, because I know we had budgeted them and you say it takes a long time to get the new cruisers. Have you received all of the cruisers that we had
Yes.
budgeted for? So those are all online. So thank you for that. And then the boat, how old's the boat that we have now?
Want to answer one?
2013.
Oh, okay.
Really old fishing boat that was just purchased that shouldn't be used as a police boat.
Okay.
It doesn't serve a function.
And then after it had the engine failure, was it redone? It's operating now, correct?
Yes, the engine's been repaired and it is operational, but it doesn't suit the needs of the police department or the Connecticut River or the Cove. And you got Crow's Nest, which is like 70 acres. So there's a huge need to have that boat purchased for the police department. It's outdated. The new boat would give us state-of-the-art equipment. Recently in September, we had a gentleman go missing. You saw that in the news. We were out there on that old boat with our detectives for a whole week, helping Connecticut State Police in a combined effort to try to find this gentleman. And eventually, he was found like on that Friday. He went missing on a Saturday or Sunday. And with that older boat, we had limited resources that we could use in technology. So it's important to upgrade our fleet as far as, Marine Patrol goes and vessels.
Is there any way, and not that I'm trying to cheap out, but is there any way to upgrade the vessel that we have?
No,
No.
it would,
can't add
good
any
money
tech
after
to
that.
it. Okay.
The way I would describe it.
That's good to know. Okay, thank you again for that. And then also, the BMS, can you please explain a little bit right now? So the BMS, it sounds, is it like a keyboard, if you will, a central system where all the electricity feeds into it and you can turn on and off things in the, I'm just trying to understand what it is actually.
It's essentially the brains of the building. It controls all our electronics. IT could probably explain it better than I can.
Okay.
But if that fails, our building fails, security-wise, heating-wise, everything-wise.
So it's not you don't need like an electrical upgrade, it's more a systems upgrade.
Correct. It's the controllers that control the functionality of the building.
Didn't we
Best
just
way to put it.
upgrade the HVAC recently, right? And that's our new HVAC system is tied into this old BMS system? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm good.
Good questions, Councilor Carbone, thank you. Further, Councilor Durk.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief, and everyone in your department for all the work you guys do. Two quick questions. One is on the overtime.
Correct.
Last year, we talked about changing the schedule for the police officers in hope for reduced overtime costs. How did that go? Like, we almost have a year now that changed. Have you seen any significant difference? Because money-wise, we're not seeing a big difference on the amount of money that we spend on the overtime.
Well, we're seeing a significant difference in the patrol and sergeant overtime. I think we're under budget combined $75,000 right now. A huge showing. The reason why we're not leveling out is because of the dispatch overtime. Their contract didn't get ratified until January. They didn't go to the 4-2. We had a vacancy, and they have double time built into their contract. So anytime we have to backfill a vacancy and have to order somebody in, that's not on double time. That's not on time and a half. So if you look at my previous slide, the double time and I forgot the other one I said there, it equates to $83,000 in overtime alone, just in dispatch. Hopefully July 1, with this new contract going in and them going to that 4-2, we'll start seeing another downward swing in overtime. That's why I'm not changing my request for overtime. That's why I'm keeping it flat. You have to understand, we've been trying to do this budget for 3 years, and we're under contract on the CBA. These contracts are 4 years long. We identified deficiency, we manage it, but we can't change it until the contract opens. So luckily for us right now, we were able to do that with the the officer's contract, and I don't have my master spreadsheet that I have with me that we break down on a bi-weekly basis, but on the patrol side of the house, we are in the green. And the dispatch side of the house, we're in the red. And once we get them in a full year on that 4-2, hopefully we're all right. And they also removed the meal breaks out of their calculations for dispatch. So that's what's hurting us right now is the dispatch. But now we hired a new dispatcher. She's in training. Once she gets off, hopefully she'll get into that. We'll get into that fully into that 4-2, and we'll hopefully have a full year or 6 months from July 1 to December to see where we're at, and then get into next year's overtime.
Thank you. And how many officers are we short at the moment?
3.
3? It's kind of similar to last year?
Yes, we're still maintaining, hovering that. We just can't find qualified candidates. Every time we think we have a good one, we get to the background process or the polygraph, and that's that. So.
Polygraph, huh?
I'm just looking at the numbers thinking, should we budget for the salaries and the overtime the same amount? Because if we get more officers, we won't need that much overtime, and the other way around as well. So if we say the same number, we're going to have the overtime, you're not going to have full salaries need.
Yeah, I'll take you up on 5 more officers if you want to add that to the budget. I know it was offered to me once before and I turned it down, but I'm open to it now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Durk. Further, Councilor Zambrello.
Thank you, and thank you for the detailed presentation. Definitely reduced the number of questions I would have had, so I appreciate that. Back to the vehicles, the CNEF requests, and the animal control questions that Councilor Carbone was asking. So you said that the current vehicle has visible body wear and tear and has been repurposed for training support. Can you elaborate on that? What is it currently being used for?
It was repurposed for the range for training. When we go to the firearms qualified twice a year, they were using that to transport targets and ammunition and other things. With the new ACO coming on, we're looking at have to reuse that until we get the new vehicle. And it's just old. It's worn down. It's got visible rust, body wear and tear, and it's 62,000 miles. Last year, we did about 429 ACO calls. This year to date, the fiscal year, we've done 296. We've impounded 46 dogs last year. So there's a need for a new vehicle in the end. We do have a lot of calls. That's just animal calls, and you have wildlife calls, a lot of skunks, raccoons, environment type animals that we have to deal with, and the new vehicle would keep the ACO safer and keep any like a skunk, a rabid skunk, the smell would keep in the back versus getting on the ACO and have a separate compartment.
And you said to date it was how many calls? Last year 429, this year 200?
This year,
So
year to
far.
date, from 7/1/24 to now, 4/28/25, 296 ACO calls. Last year, calendar year, we did 429.
Okay,
We had a part-time officer, ACO officer.
Sure.
Still a lot of calls.
So my next question, so the new vehicle you're requesting, what options did you look at when you were making this decision?
We looked at the similar one that we currently have, the van, which would be more expensive. You have to build out the separate compartments in the back. We looked at ones that Newington has, where it looks like a truck and they got this thing dropped on top of it and there's like dog doors in it. And it's not, you have to lift the dog up into it. It's not really that, functional. So we looked at the pickup truck. Glastonbury has one. It seems more functional. You have the cab on the back and you can have different compartments, and there's a slide out that the animals can walk in on and help the ACO get them into the back of the vehicle. So we looked at all the different types of vehicles, and this seemed to be the most vehicle that fit our needs based on our call volume and the type of animals we deal with.
Okay, and so I was just trying to look to see if I could find the exact model. So when it says S Crew, is that Super Crew or is this something else?
Yeah.
That is Super Crew, okay.
So the idea with that truck is that all the ACO tools are right behind him or her, so they can reach back there and grab it, open that other door, have their tools there, and the animals are all separate in the back. Where currently, with the van now, it's a mixture.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilor Zambrello. Further council questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Forrest.
Thanks, Mayor. Question about the new proposed boat and extra stuff. What's the and I'm asking honestly, in a year, right? What's the kind of anticipated typical use case for that? Patrolling in the summer times for proper boating. Obviously, there's rescue, right? But if you could give a little flavor for like what the anticipated use of the new apparatus would be.
So this was not included in the slide, but anticipated outcome of efficiency gains, the new patrol vessel will allow a 10% increase in patrol time in year one, which is an additional 2 hours per week, and an increase of 5% over the previous year in year two. By year three, the unit will patrol 6 to 8 hours daily, up to 4 hours a day in the Cove.
So I think maybe the last part I was a little interested in. Are we thinking like 100 days on the water, 50, some other number? Is it a as needed basis? Is it?
Well, we can calculate that, get back to you on that number, but it's not an as needed basis. We patrol all the time during the summer.
Yeah.
The boat's constantly out there on the water, so we're gonna need a new boat.
And maybe, or like, what is the? Maybe it doesn't be moving forward what the use case will be, but like, what has been the use in the last year, right? I mean, on average, not like I don't need to know like some 23.3 or anything like that, but like, are you out about 100 days a year or 50 days a year, half the time, 3 rescues about, what is the?
When we looked at the proposal and what we did last year, we responded to 33 incidents down the Cove where it needed a response by police. And that was disturbances at the Cove. When people are on the boat, they can dock, come off, and take care of that and get back on the boat and patrol. The jet skis were issues. Like I said, it's not just enforcing waterways, rules and regulations, but it's also mutual aid with other towns. Like Hartford had the Dragon boat in August. We couldn't make it because the engine died. So we had to come back, have it towed back to port, and have it had a service. But we're looking
you guys had to call the other police department?
Yeah, we had to get towed in. But our goal and what we did last year basically is we were trying to get everyone out there at least 3 to 4 times a week through May to October. Because we can't put the boat out too early because of the river, how it rises and floods, and you got all those big logs down there. So we don't want to put it down in the water too early because you could damage the vessel. So let the water recede. We see what's there, then we put the boat in the dock, and then we can launch it from there. Actually, this year, Hartford's asking to come down and use our launch again like they did last year because it's such a great place to launch from. But I was on that boat a couple of times last year, and these guys do enforcement action. We have a sheet when officers go out. They do vessel inspections, they citations, OUIs, no life preservers type things.
Yeah.
So we have when they go out, they have to do a pre-list, and then whatever activity they do, they report back to us.
And I mean, we share the waterway obviously with Glastonbury and East Hartford, and Hartford borders to the north, Rocky Hill, and you keep going. I'm asking, is there sort of discussion about a regionalization of this kind of a thing?
No, there is not.
And what's the thought process behind that? Every town needs these things. There's a lot of work on the waterways that it's all needed.
When you start thinking about regionalization of tasks, you're going to increase our overtime budget. Because when Hartford goes out, Rocky Hill goes out, Glastonbury goes out, and they call for resources like our mid-state accident reconstruction team.
Yeah, right.
Every time they go out, that's our officers going out with that team, and that's overtime. If we right now, we are good where we're at with that vessel and maintaining our overtime because we have that overtime built into the budget already for our Marine unit. That's not taken into account when we have to go out on the call to Glastonbury if we're doing mutual aid or Rocky Hill. So if we regionalize that, I don't see the cost benefit for doing it. Hartford has their own dive team, their own boats. They don't need to regionalize. They have a big enough Marine unit that they don't need to regionalize on anyone. Glastonbury right now, last year, I don't think they had a Marine unit, is my understanding, which means we'd be doing all the calls in Glastonbury and then East Hartford. So,
Would you charge them for that call then, if you're like responding to them?
No.
So in some respects, we may be carrying the weight of, in this case, Glastonbury. They
we don't
want
go
to
too
have
many
their
calls in
team.
Glastonbury, so I would have to get back to you on that exact number. I don't know that off the top of my head, but we try to maintain our area and our jurisdiction.
But you see what I mean, though? If they don't have a team and then they're calling us to handle
They have a boat. They just don't have captains to operate the boat.
Well,
we actually put them on our boat last year to help train them.
Right.
That was our assisting them, was training.
And that's
two of
kudos
their
to you, of course, for
officers.
having such a phenomenal force, which we've said many times here, which is
Thank you. Now I need the boat.
And do we respond to like Rocky
phenomenal
Hill
force.
as well? Are we responding to like Rocky Hill calls because they either don't have the right apparatus or the right personnel?
If they need us, we'll call. Go ahead.
And I expect we would, of course, but yeah, of course.
Obviously, if we're on the water, we're going to respond.
Yeah.
For anyone's need. The first time we launched a boat last year in May, there was a call down in Middletown where a construction worker was going to commit suicide and he was going to jump off the bridge. We went down there and helped in that search. So we respond wherever we need to go.
Yeah.
Just the other day, there's a body that washed up in the Rocky Hill area. If you're on the water, you can help with that. You're not just looking to recover the body, you're looking for things that you can use as evidence also. Of
course.
And be able to get our detectives to a location that they can't get to. We know how the river is. Bodies do wash up on shore. They jump on the boat. They can get around onto the cove, get into areas on the shoreline that vehicles can't get into. So that's why it's important to have things like that, especially when you have to patrol the waterway. And don't forget, we have the big fuel dumps, fuel containers along the Connecticut River there on Burbank. That's a huge issue. That's a homeland safety issue. If someone's out there messing around or could be doing something nefarious and we have the boat out there, we can respond and look and take a view from the coastline.
I have no doubt that there's a good use case for it, and it's important to have. That's like almost a given. The question is, are other towns seeing that truth as well? And we're all doing our fair share for the length of the water. I don't know that answer, but there's...
I don't know that answer, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah,
I'm concerned about Wethersfield and what we do. I can check on them, but our priority is what we have here, and that's what I look at for safety and security of our area.
Thanks a lot, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Does anybody, I have a couple, yep, Councilor.
One more boat question.
Yep. I actually have a boat question too. I do too, but.
No, the more I think about it, do you ever use the boat at the same time the fire department is using their boat?
Fireworks, possibly. I didn't see the fire department boat go in the water. It was in the water last year, but I never saw them use it. It was there. I have not seen them use it once. Last year at the fireworks, they may go on it, and that's about it.
You also have to remember it's a different type of boat. It's built for firefighting, not for.
Well, that's what
law
I'm thinking
enforcement.
about, yeah.
Yeah, so that I'm not going to step on Chief Schroll's toes. That's his, but he's got a fireboat that's designed for firefighting, not for law enforcement.
Well,
We're looking for a law enforcement specific boat.
How about a jet ski? Just a thought.
Motorcycle of the water.
Does the big gas company there with do they have I assume they have their own security as well, right?
That I don't know. I believe they do. But
I would think they have security cameras on land.
But not a boat.
But nothing on the river.
Councilor Clancy?
No, I'm done. I'm just talking.
I have the boat question as well, but I usually go last. Do you have a question?
I do.
Okay.
I promise this will be my
Councilor
last
Carver.
boat question. So typically, you said after the water's flux, you go in and the boat is at the dock, ready to go from like end of May through September? I'm just trying to,
Yes.
and it just, okay.
So the boat's there, so if we get a call, we
You can
can
just,
launch
you
it,
don't
we
have
can
to
just
launch, you
run
just,
down
you're
there,
there.
get on it and go.
Okay,
It's
that's
ready
good
to go once it's in the water. We don't take it out unless we need to fill it for fuel, which this new boat, you wouldn't probably have to really fill it too many times for fuel. It's a big engine. And for maintenance, any type of maintenance or cleaning.
And then my last question would be, I was thinking about the overtime. Have you noticed a difference in the overtime because some other departments are taking that on into their budgets? Does that have any impact on your overtime budget? Do you know how, like, you were saying a few years ago?
Talking about for
it was
events?
the police, for events. It was on your overtime budget, and now, now like Park and Rec has a little bit in theirs, and
that 18,130 that we did not budget for, that's your special events that we're absorbing into our budget. Besides all the other costs that we absorb that we just provide the security for, that's outside of
Oh,
what
the
we do.
private duty, that's that?
The private duty charges, yes.
Okay.
That's an
Right, so it
additional
did
20
impact it
grand.
a Tiny bit, because it went down, it went away, that went to Park and Rec.
That's coming out of my budget, the 18,000 for special events. That's being charged, that we're absorbing on behalf of the town. Provide security.
Okay, so, do you know what I'm getting
Yeah,
at?
there are additional events that Parks and Rec is taking, and they're billing back, if you will, so Mike can speak to it.
Okay, again.
So that's a negative number. The chief's actually making money now on that. So, which that's just that's accounting, that's a timing issue or something. I can find out if you need to know. But again, we wouldn't expect a lot on that line because we're trying to put that out in the other departments that are sort of the sponsors of the particular events. That's the one thing I'm not sure. I want to make sure everyone understands that. If it's Corn Fest, Parks and Rec is paying for the private duty. So the police don't pay for the private duty because it's police services.
Got it.
Whoever is sort of the organizer or the host, if you will, of the event, operationally speaking, absorbs that.
So that doesn't count in his overtime?
Correct.
All right.
Correct. So again, that's just I would think that'd be pretty close to zero at the end of the year, but it's below zero. Like I said, Chief's
I was just
making money at the
curious if
moment.
you noticed an offset with that. All right, thank you. I'm good, I promise.
Thank you, Counselor Carbone. Seeing no one else, the good news is almost every question I have had was asked by all of you folks, and I appreciate it. So one additional question and a comment or two. First, the question and the comments. I do also want to talk about the boat because it's in the fire department's budget to request a boat at the same cost, $250,000. I know it's different equipment and different needs, but I asked the same question of them that I'm going to ask of you, which is there a used boat market? And if so, is that a possibility and potentially a lower cost? I know we want to replace an older one with a new one. That's the whole idea. But is there something in between, or have we not looked at that yet?
We've looked at used boats and boats that are out there, and they're pale in comparison to what we need and what this company can offer to us. They're a sole source provider. They're the only company that makes this type of boat. We did all the research. They can get us a boat in 30 days once we do a purchase order, so the turnaround's really quick. State-of-the-art equipment. There's no hands down. You're going to be struggling to find that equipment, have someone put in the boat. It costs you more to get that equipment put into the boat than it would if you just purchased it from the very beginning, if you went with a used boat. Plus, the warranty issue when you buy used versus new is there.
Understood. And then this might be for Mike. Are there potential, and I know interest rates are higher now, but are there potential payment plans if we were to purchase a boat for the police or the fire? In terms of the cost of $250,000, is there a way to stretch that cost out if it's cost effective for the purchase of a new boat?
I would say yes. I mean, it's hard to say with the dealers. Dealers typically have financing options available, but we can always go to a bank and find that as well.
Yeah, all right. Well, I know that both units have asked for one. So let me kind of wrap up with a couple comments if nobody else has a question. First of all, on the overtime budget, as you know better than we do, this is an issue in every town in Connecticut. It's an issue with the state police, and kudos to you guys for managing it, bringing the number down. I know it's a hard thing to manage, and we appreciate it. And the second one and last one is, this is a challenging budget year. They're all challenging, but we have on the backs of the school referendum, and I appreciate that there's not a lot of new items, and that I think the overall increase request was 4.65%, and certainly appreciate all you guys do and appreciate that there wasn't a lot. I know there was no new cruisers, and I appreciate all the work that all of you did that goes into this budget. And in a couple weeks, we'll be voting on it. And that's my last comment and question. But Councilor Dirk, you Please.
Thank you. I thought I was done. This is not quite a budget question, but I keep forgetting it, and it could potentially be part of the budget. So the people who live close to, so the Route 515, it goes from Berlin Turnpike down to 91. I used to live on one of those streets, and the quality of life issues are constant there. And I'm sure you know this better than I do, but there is a lot of different people going to test their cars, do crazy things on that stretch of highway. Is there anything that we can do, and I know that's probably state highway, but is there anything that police can do? Because I never saw a cruiser, I never saw state police, anybody in that area that's ever patrolling or catching people speeding all the time. Is there anything that can be done on that specific area, or if we can reach out to state police if that's not our jurisdiction?
Talking about speeding in that area?
Are you talking about the connector or the Berlin Turnpike?
So from the Berlin Turnpike down to the 91, so it will be from the
That's
Berlin
the connector.
Turnpike down to like the Price Right area. So those streets from Goodwin Avenue, Brussels, and all of that area, they're all experiencing a lot of different issues daily, constantly. And
Once
I
you
don't
hit the
know
light on the Berlin Turnpike to the connector, that's state police jurisdiction. Then again, state police has full jurisdiction in the entire state, so I was a trooper for 21 years. But that's theirs normally. Anything on the Berlin Turnpike is ours. Even though that stretch of highway is in Wethersfield, and technically we can go up there and enforce motor vehicle, our guys aren't going to go up on a highway just for the safety of putting them up. They're not used to doing enforcement on the highway. I'm not going to put them up on the highway. Being up there with cars going past you at 80, 90 miles an hour on a motor vehicle stop, troopers are trained how to handle that. Our guys are not. That's their role. When it comes to the Berlin Turnpike, the mayor, as you know, and the council, as you know, is trying to institute the red light stoplight cameras. That's a tool we can utilize. We reinstituted the traffic unit. Jason Nunez has been out there. I did the numbers this morning. He's been out there for 15 shifts, and he's already conducted 270 motor vehicle stops. He's outpacing the rest of the whole department, because the rest of the department's at another 463, so we're almost close to 1,000 stops this month. Silas, Deane, Berlin Turnpike, so we're out there enforcing hazardous driving conditions. So we're out there, so all we can do is just keep pushing our resources to where we need to based on community feedback and go from there.
I don't know how it all works operationally, but if there's ever a conversation or a way to reach out to state police, or if there's anything that can be done to kind of raise that issue with them. I don't know how much they know about that or not, but if you go to these neighborhoods and talk to people, they'll tell you that almost any car in the area that needs to be tested by these crazy drivers, that's the place they'll go to. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll just add real quickly that there was just an article today, I think, about the state looking at the speed cameras on the highways and on stretches that we're not going to be enforcing.
Correct.
And this is something we can reach out to them and ask this.
Just to give you a little background,
area.
Working at Troop H as a trooper, you have to remember that the Connecticut State Police has 8 troopers on at one time in the Hartford County area. That's from Southington to the Tolland on 84. That's the Mass Line on 91 all the way down to Middletown. That Route 20, East Granby, those corridors. So you have 8 troopers covering a lot of highway, including the 515 corridor you're speaking about. So they are out there. They are working. It's just you have, when I was a trooper, my patrol area would be from exit 35 to the Mass Line, Route 20 going into Windsor Locks and East Granby. That was my patrol for one trooper. So understand they're out there and they're humping and they're trying to cover a lot of area. So I'll let them know.
This is more in line, like, if there's a way to set up those speeding cameras, and if most people know, they'll slow down. This way, it's just, nobody's doing that really. Thank you.
Appreciate you raising that, Councilor Dirk. Speeding is a huge issue, not just in Wethersfield, all throughout the state. It's getting worse, and reckless driving is getting worse, and I know you guys are working hard on it. Hopefully, by the end of the year, we'll have the cameras to help. It won't solve it. What really solves it is when people change their behavior. It's not easy for people to do, and to change their driving behavior maybe when they get a couple tickets and it's but the speeding and reckless driving has certainly increased a lot, and it's a big problem in Wethersfield and throughout, not only in the state, the whole country. It's a big problem. We have it here, we get a lot of complaints, people call me, they're speeding on my street all the time. It's a huge issue, so appreciate it. Anybody else? Not, we will take a motion to adjourn. Councilors, we're back here at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Anybody else? Any motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
And a second?
Second.
So you got Councilor Carbone and Councilor Dirk. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Chief.